Things just got a lot more interesting in the NFL. Not that they weren't already with the amount of blockbuster trades we've seen go down, but add this one to the list. The Chiefs trading their star wide receiver and Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins. And what does this mean when it comes to the draft for each of these teams? Kansas City is getting 5 draft picks for Tyreek Hill, including the Dolphins' first rounder this year. They were picking at 29. The others are a second and fourth rounder this year, and then a fourth and sixth rounder in 2023. The Dolphins no longer have a first round pick. Let's welcome in Ryan Wilson, our draft expert, to talk about this. We're going to get to the draft here in the second for each of these teams, but just your reaction to this deal going down and so quickly, too.
Yeah, I mean, the speed at which this stuff is happening is sort of hard to wrap your brain around. You can't get too far from the old camera here because something's going to happen that you got to show up for. And I don't wear this all the time, Amanda, so I got in and out of this outfit about 4 times. Thank you, Tyreek Hill, for that. But it's crazy. Great news for the Dolphins. Great news for Tua Tagovailoa, who perhaps is now nervous with all the riches that he has at his disposal, knowing that he has to sort of put up or shut up. And you wonder what Patrick Mahomes is thinking right now and how much of a lead he had in to knowing that Tyreek Hill wanted to leave and would end up elsewhere, and what his wide receiving core / tight end group was going to look like. Now in a division that's arguably the best division in the NFL, with so many good quarterbacks, so many good playmakers, guys like Devontae Adams has arrived in Las Vegas. Khalil Mack has arrived for the Chargers on the other side of the football, getting after Patrick Mahomes. So a lot of moving parts. And I mean, free agency started like 8 days ago. It feels like it was 80 years ago, but this is the latest. I would imagine something's going to happen in a few more hours, and we'll talk again soon then.
All right, let's talk about what this means for the draft, and let's start with the Chiefs because they now have an additional first-round pick. They're picking at 29 and 30 now. Walk me through in your head and the little bit that you've had to think about this, what they may do with those picks, and you got to be curious if one of them is going to be a wide receiver.
Right. And, you know, we usually talk about the Packers, who have now 2 first-round picks, and how many receivers they're going to take in the first round. And, you know, we joke that it might be 2. You sort of feel the same way with the Chiefs. But here's what's interesting to me. And we know that the Jets were also interested in getting Tyreek Hill. And I wondered if Kansas City would be able to get that 10th overall pick out from under New York. Because if so, then you can get a guy like Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State, or a Drake London out of USC. Guys that make sense at 10 overall and help your team immediately. At 29 and 30, those guys will be long gone. Perhaps a Chris Olave is there. Or here's an idea, and Pete Prisco actually mentioned this earlier in his segment. Jameson Williams out of Alabama. He suffered that ACL injury in the SEC in the championship game against Georgia, and he's going to be out probably in October, maybe even into November. But he is one of the best wide receivers in this draft class, so he makes some sense there. And they could circle back at 30, and they'll probably target an edge rusher. And again, you could go with a guy who unfortunately was injured recently, David Ojabo, if you want to go that route. But they have 6 picks in the first 3 rounds, and they're going to get at least 2 wide receivers, I would imagine. One has to come early in the first round. Maybe they package some of those picks to move up to get a Garrett Wilson type or a Drake London type, or stay pat and get a Jameson Williams, and then circle back in rounds 2 or 3 and pick up some more players. A guy like Sky Moore out of Western Michigan would be a name to keep an eye on. A Jalen Tolbert's a deep threat out of South Alabama as well. But to your point, I feel like at least 2 wide receivers in the first 3 rounds with those 6 picks have to be on the to-do list for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
6 picks for the Chiefs in the first 3 rounds. When it comes to the Dolphins, that is by far not the case anymore. I think you said 3rd, 4th, 5, 7, 7. Walk me through the impact of this trade when it comes to the Dolphins in the draft.
Yeah, so some folks think that the Dolphins gave up too much. I don't, and it's not necessarily the less need LA Rams blueprint. It's just a function of them building a team, and they've done a remarkable job this offseason, whether it's adding those running backs and Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert, whether it's adding the offensive linemen that they added in Teron Armstead and Connor Williams. Mike Gesicki is back. So again, as I said, Tua's out of excuses, and here you can see all the free agents that they've signed, and they've lost some of these draft picks from trading up and down in recent years along the way. I think they have to be ecstatic with this draft haul. Okay, you don't get your first, second, and third round picks, and this is what you get. I think you sign up for that all day long. So you have to be happy with where you are. They need some help, perhaps, at off-ball linebacker. You can find that at the bottom of round 3. Perhaps along the offensive line, which is a forever search, but they added 2 guys in free agency that we mentioned, and maybe a defensive lineman. And again, you can get those guys on day 3. All that said, there's no reason that the Dolphins shouldn't be the favorites or one of the favorites to make some noise in the AFC East. Obviously, that's going to go through Buffalo, but I would imagine the Bills who are historically worried about the Patriots now suddenly have to focus their attention on South Florida. And again, I'll say it for like the fifth time, it all comes down to Tua Tagovailoa. He has to play at that Alabama level to give the Dolphins a legitimate chance to be a playoff team. Otherwise, a year from now, we'll be talking about a quarterback in Miami.
We'll see if he can pull a Josh Allen and do that in his third year. Let's talk about Super Bowl odds. You talked about the division, though. So the Dolphins were plus 7,000. They are now plus 4,000 to win the Super Bowl. Some other teams in that range, Vikings, Patriots. What do you think about the Dolphins' Super Bowl odds now?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about Tua. I keep saying that, but you said they're in the range of the Patriots. I got to go with my guy McCorkle Jones if we're going to be in that range and give me someone to pick. But look, if Tua can play with some composure, hit his open receivers, and do it on time without being pressured, then you have to like his chances of getting this team to the playoffs. I think that's step one. The Super Bowl feels like a stretch right now, but, you know, we're in March. A lot of things can certainly change, and I think having someone like Tyreek Hill, who is the most athletic and the fastest player in the NFL, certainly helps your chances here. That said, the Bills, the Patriots are still ahead of the Dolphins, even just by a little bit, and as we get through, obviously, to training camp and all that, these things will certainly change. I do feel bad for Jets fans who probably thought they had a chance at Tyreek Hill and a game changer for Zach Wilson, and now they remain the Jets.
Okay, let's talk about the Chiefs. No Tyreek Hill. We'll see what they do in the draft. 6 picks. First 3 rounds, we've seen some crazy trades go down. So the Chiefs right now sitting at plus 900 behind the Bills and the Bucks. We've been trying to figure out, I think, Ryan, right when the season ended, they were the betting favorite. That was before Tom Brady announced that he was coming back. What do you think about the Chiefs' odds right now to win the Super Bowl?
The problem is, and the Packers are right behind them at a plus 1,100. The problem for the Chiefs is that they're in a conference where there are 8 or 9, 10 teams that are going to be really, really good, whereas the Green Bay in the NFC, there's only a handful of teams. So I still love Andy Reid. I still love Patrick Mahomes. I think that defense is going to get better. The offensive line sort of held up with the duct tape, but it all comes down to Travis Kelce's a year older. He's in his 30s now. Clyde Edwards-Helaire hasn't quite clicked yet as that former first-round pick, and they don't have any wide receivers named Tyreek Hill. They lost Byron Pringle. They signed Juju Smith-Schuster, which would be a great compliment to Tyreek Hill, but again, he's no longer there. So I think it's going to come down to any guys they can find in free agency that are remaining at wide receiver, and there aren't a ton. Maybe a Jarvis Landry comes in, again, as a complimentary player, and then you have to crush the draft at wide receiver, because in that division, which is the toughest, in that conference, which is the toughest, it's a lot of work to do for Patrick Mahomes now that the most dangerous player in football is playing in South Florida.
And the Bills did jump up when they landed Von Miller. All right, Ryan Wilson, good luck on your next mock draft. We'll see what happens between now and then because there's been so much happening. Pick Six Podcast, Ryan Wilson a part of that, along with Will Brinson and crew. Check it out for an emergency pod having to do with Tyreek Hill, now headed to the Dolphins. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.